Um, the thing is that whenever you write here done and you write here done, so let's say this is the column E. So whenever the user is going to write the done here or maybe here, that depends how long you have the data, your email should automatically go. So that means, in other words, your macro should automatically run. Now when how can we achieve these kind of self triggered macros? How can we achieve these things? Well, this is what we call actually events. Events means that they run themselves. They don't wait for your instructions. They don't wait for you to go and click on some button, right? And these all events you can find out in the when you click on the Visual Basic. You go in the sheet over here, because I have written this for sheet 1. So just click on the double click on the sheet and choose the event from here, worksheet. And when you click that, you get to see here lot of events. Now this is, for example, deactivate. So whenever this sheet gets deactivated, so let's say if I select that, look at this. When you select that, your VBA will insert this macro for you, worksheet underscore deactivate. Now what do you mean by that? Generally, when you write the programs, you write under the modules, but they are the events, so you don't have to do anything. In fact, you can see that even the macro name is coming. Well, I had actually given a lot of a good amount of explanation in my series called Excel VBA events. So just go and pick up those first 2 or 3 videos. You can watch more if you really want to go in depth, right? Because events are one of my favorite topics. The reason is they are very powerful. You saw yourself, what sort of code we have done. It's really so powerful, and I'm sure you are going to use it after watching this video. Now if I just go and put the message box here, hi, you see what's going to happen. Now you said that whenever this worksheet is going to be deactivated, so how we can deactivate? Let's say I create one more sheet. Look at this, guys. Automatically that macro is running. It's not waiting for user click, right? Now if I click on this sheet, nothing happens. Why? Because you have written that macro under the sheet 1, right? So it refers, this worksheet underscore deactivate refers to only sheet 1. So the moment I select sheet 1 and I go back to the sheet 2, what do you mean by that? Because sheet 1 is getting deactivated, so this macro will automatically fire. So this is what we actually want to see. Now for this to achieve the task which we are doing here, now basically what we're gonna do, we're gonna work with the change event. What is a change event, guys? Change event means that within this sheet 1, if any change happens in any of the cells, which means that you are overwriting it or you are just adding something to the blank cell, this macro which you see here, worksheet underscore change, I have chosen this macro from here, from here. When you go and select this change, right? So this is gonna come. So in this, now I have written some code, as you can see, and this is what I want to explain you. Now guys, for the event, so I not only want to run this macro when there is something change happens here. For example, if this is blank cell and I'm going to write here done, then obviously there is a change in the value of the cell called E2 happening from blank to the done. But at the same time, I also want to make sure that if the change is happening, let's say in this cell, for example, I'm writing a 77. You see that when I have written the 77, nothing will happen, no email will go, because I have put the condition in my code that the change should happen within this sheet. That is the first thing. The second thing is that if the change is going to happen within this sheet 1, then it should happen in the E2 or E3. So how to take care of that particular thing? So now look at this. The moment I write, so let me just first of all put the break code to give you the understanding on this code, right? So break code means that the moment I write here, there will be a change because the value is going to come as a done. So the moment I press enter, in the background this event will run. I have put the break code here, just clicked here, or you can press F9 as well, which is the shortcut key, and the code will stop. Now from here we're going to take it on the F8 mode, right? Now I talked about this application dot intersect in one of my videos under the playlist Excel VB events, right? So you can go and watch that, but still I'm going to tell you what exactly it is. Now in this particular case, if you see, so we have this application dot intersect method, and this you can use only under the sheets, under the sheets, because this is specifically given us for the events, right? You can't use this under the module. So guys, when you write the intersect, what do you mean by that? Well, it says that when I start the bracket, it says that argument 1 as range, argument 2 as range, which means that if we want to say that in any of the range, so here we write the range, the range which we want to target. So target in the sense that we want to cover, so we want to cover. Now if you look at the in the above example, in the above line, this is the range we want to cover, E2 to E3, and that's why I've written range E2 to E3, and because I want to cover E2 to E3. So I'm saying that if in the E2 to E3, if the user is going to write anything, right, then this macro should do its job, right? So now how will you come to know that I have picked up the the cell from E2 to E3? For that, what we do is we use the word called target dot address, this target. So basically this target is what, if I just go and write the target dot, you see that it is not, it's a VBA word, and this word is available only under the sheet events. You won't find this under the modules. Now what do you mean by the target? So target word actually is given to us by VBA so that whatever the things we are doing in the Excel in the front end, that we can actually, if we want to check that on which particular cell we have done the change, right, then that can be identified using the target command. So what I have done is I have used the target address. So the target address is going to come as, in this particular case, the target address is going to come as E3, because in the E3 I did the change, sorry, E2. So E2, I'm going to put this, this particular E2 cell in the range command. So basically I'm using two parameters. This is range 1, range 2. So it means that if this target address, which is now going to show you as, if you look at this E2, if this E2 is going to fall under this, is going to be a part of this range, which is E2 to E3, then what will happen, then we should go and we should find that if I is something or it is nothing. Now what do you mean by the nothing? Look at this, I have used a function called if I is nothing. It means that if the intersection is going to be there, which means that the target cell where you added some value, where you have written some value, right, if that is going to be a part of this range, then that means it exists. If it does not exist, that means it is nothing. So I use the set I equals to application dot intersect, because this is the object, range object. You must define I as range. Now once you run this line, this I, either it is going to hold some value or it is not going to hold anything. If it is holding some value, that means the change is done in your range E2 to E3, because this is the intersect. And if it is saying that it is nothing, then that means you have selected something else. Now in our case, we know we did the changes in the E2, right? So if I have done the changes in the E2, then this cannot be is nothing. This is nothing is going to be false. So you see that it immediately goes to the else mode. Now in the else mode, what I'm doing is I'm actually checking that whether the value, the value which we have put there, is that value are done or not, right? Because it may happen that you may write something else like pending, or maybe anything not completed. For example, in that case the macro should not trigger the email, right? So that's why I'm putting the second check, that first it has to be in the E2 or E3 intersection, using the intersection method, and then after it checks that, all right, so this is actually the intersection is done. So we got that intersection. Now then we will check whether it is done or not. So if it is done, then what we will do, we are going to find the row number of that cell where actually I did the change. So that for that we can use the target dot row. Target row dot row will return the row number of a cell where the changes are made, and you know that we made the changes in the row number 2. Now I'm capturing this in the variable called my row. If you are a very good programmer, you must be wondering right now that where is my row variable? Well guys, this is not a local variable. You have to declare this on the top saying that global my row. I have declared this as byte, but you can declare it as integer or long, because I know I'm just using 2 rows, so byte can use that, the value. But if you're working on a data where you can go up to more than 256 rows, then make sure you should change this to integer, right? Now global variable we use obviously because we can use those values from one macro to the another macro, right? So I go and run this. Now for the time being, you remember this my row is going to hold a value which is called 2. Now here comes the important part. Now what I have said is, if I show you this, my application dot runtime, the application on time, this is to run the macro on some specific time. This is how we write, and I had uploaded a video long time back on that as well. Now what is it? Now basically it says that what is the earliest time, and after the earliest time, so basically you set up the time here when you want to run the macro, and then comma, and then your macro name, which I have written here, send email. So earliest time is going to be what? Now in my case, it is not going to be 9:30 a.m., 10:30 a.m. or any daytime or evening time. It is actually the time when the user is going to write their done. The moment it actually writes their done, it should immediately run. So that means we are going to, what we are actually doing, we are using the time serial function. Now time serial is a function which if you want to understand the date and time functions in VBA, please go and check Excel VBA function playlist. I'll still explain you. So basically when you write the time serial, what happens, you can write here hour as integer, minutes as integer, second as integer. So if I write, let's say 2 comma, let's say 30 comma 4, this is going to be read as 2 hours 30 minutes 4 seconds, right? Now what I'm doing is I'm using the now function. If you look at this now function, because now function, if you are the Excel user, you know that now returns the current time, right? So what I'm doing is, when now actually works, what happens, if I just go and show you here, if I just write in now, you see that this is the Excel function, and this can be used in the VBA also. Now look at this. This given me a date and time. So now actually returns both the things. Now what we want to do is, using the hour function, we want to extract the hour, and then the minute function, we want to extract the minute, and then second function, we want to extract the seconds, right? So hour, minute, second is the another function we are using. So we are simply saying hour, and what is the time? So let's say I say the time is, right now I'm using the now, so what happens from this now means the current time on your machine. This is going to extract the hour from there. Now once it extracts the hour, and then minute, and then second, so I have written time serial start to bracket hour, and then in the hour I have written now. Make sure you write open parenthesis, close parenthesis in the now, and I'm then closing this hour function, then comma, minutes, and then comma, seconds. Afterwards, whatever the time will come, that is going to be your that particular time when this user is running that macro. Then we are going to add 0 hour, 0 minute, and 5 seconds, right? So in your case, as Michael said that he wants to run this after 30 minutes, you just need to write here 30, and you can keep this 5 as 0, right? So this is how you can do that, right? Now after comma, then I am putting here the send email method. So which macro you want to run? Basically the macro name is send email, right? So this is how it works. And then finally, guys, this is the email you have drafted, right? So this will go in the send email, and it's going to create the Outlook application. And then using the Outlook application, it is going to create the OMIL item, which I had talked about in my 50 videos. If you're new to the channel, then let me tell you that we already had dedicated 50 videos for the Outlook, controlling the Outlook from the Excel VBA. So please go and take the advantage of this playlist by going and watching all these 50 videos under the playlist Excel VBA connecting Outlook with Excel. So what will happen here, I'm saying that with this OM, which is my OMIL item, I've kept everything here. This email has to go to whom? Obviously this my row. If you remember, my row we captured from this cell, the row of that cell. So that's going to come there in that way, right? So that's how you're going to actually send this entire code. So you have the you have the BCC. So what I'm doing, actually I'm using this A column, B column, C column for my CC, BCC, and then I'm using actually Outlook mail.send. But to demonstrate this how it works, I'm just going to write here display, right? And then you can obviously put the message box as well. But right now let me remove the message box, because Outlook will come in front of you and you will understand, right? So first of all, guys, let's quickly do one thing. So let's say a user is doing some change over here. 77. Let's say I've written is 77, right? Now you know that this macro will trigger because there is a change it found in the sheet 1. So when you run this, see what is going to happen. Now you know this 77 is the change which we have made, that's made in the B7, as you can see, target dot address. But B7 is not a part of this range, so there's no question of intersecting, you know, if that is the thing. So when you run this line, now if I is nothing, obviously in this case I is actually nothing. Why? Because it did not fall under this E2 to E3. So what will happen, this macro will go in then mode and it will exit from there. So this is being taken care of, right? This is how we are doing it. Now let's say instead of this done, I say pending. For example, I say pending. Now again, when you run this, now you know that this target address is actually E2 because I made the changes in the E2. Now if I have made the changes in the E2, then what should happen? It should immediately go here in the if mode, and it should not go in then mode because this time we found the intersection, right? So it goes in the else mode. But again, now in the else mode, you know, the I value is not done, it is pending. So what should happen now? Again, no email is supposed to go, so you can go and else it should go in the else and if, and the macro should immediately stop. I hope now you're understanding the significance of this word which we have written done. And remember, this is a case sensitive, so better you provide the drop downs, or make sure you tell your people that they should write done in capital, because Excel VBA is case sensitive in case of if functions. Or maybe you can write then, or if you can write this as well, that I value should be equals to done, and then similarly you can use the proper case. So when you put everything in the or, guys, things will work for you. So that is the another option, that is also something you can do that, right? Okay, now let's come back to the original thing then. So let's say I write here done in the capital. Right now I'm writing. Now you know that the done is written in the E2 cell, which is a part of this range, right? So intersection is definitely there. So this will go in the else mode, it will not exit. Now afterwards it again further checks the other thing, which is whether the value in the target cell, was it done or not. So you know that I is going to say that it is actually done, right? Because your target value is done. So finally when we are saying that it is done, it is going to execute this. Now you know the row number is going to come from target.row, where you have done the action. So that is called the target. It's a VBA word. We got the row number as 2, and this row number 2 I'm going to use in my email. Now this will run. So it added the 5 seconds, and now the email is, you know, you see that when I press F8, actually nothing is happening, but the email is drafted, guys. So what happened, this basically particular line, this application on time, and then from the current time, first of all from the current time I'm extracting the hour, minute, second, and then I'm adding 5 seconds to it, and then on, you know, adding by 5 seconds to it, it basically I'm saying that you have to run, you know, adding 5 seconds to the current time, you got to run this macro, which is the send email. So it goes to the send email, and in the send email what happens then, this is the simple program I have written, right? This is the Outlook connectivity, and if you haven't watched the Outlook videos, please go and watch, because I know I'm not really explaining much this, because this is an area, something I already talked in my 50 videos, and moreover the major code was actually this, that how to set up everything, you know, how to make sure that your email should go actually from here. So this is the important one, right? This is very important, especially the intersection point and the target point, and how you are using the application on time, right? So to use this email, I have also inserted this reference. If you are new to the channel and if you do not know the connectivity, please make sure in the tool reference you have this Microsoft Outlook 16.0 object library activated, because this is a library you have to activate it. I'm using Office 2016. You will have a different version, depends what version you are using, but that should not stop you from using it, because it doesn't matter which version we have. Just make sure you have your Outlook library activated. So now this is what I was talking. This my row, you know, it's gonna come from here, guys. This is the point, right? It is capturing the target row, right? So that's how it is working. Now so this is the reason that if I remove the breakcode from here, you see that when I write here done and when I write here done, immediately you will have the two emails drafted after the, you know, 5 seconds to each. So this is the email, we got that email, right? Let me minimize that and let me show you the second email. So we got actually the, you know, the two emails. So you can see on my taskbar the two emails are drafted. If I use the dots in, user will not be able to see anything and your emails will go. But yes, proactively I'm telling you guys, so when you're actually working on this, you have to make sure that this Excel should be open. So you got to tell your people, because if you won't open this, then how you gonna write here done? And after writing the done also, to run this macro, it has to kept, you know, active in the sense, maybe you can minimize it, not a problem, you can work on other your applications, but do not close it, right? Because we have to make sure that this should be open as long as the macro you want it to run. Because if you're gonna put 30 minutes the buffer, then this has to remain 30 minutes open, otherwise the code will not be able to read, the VBA will not be able to read all this entire stuff, right? So that's it for now, guys. I hope you have enjoyed this fantastic the video. I also enjoyed it a lot, and thank you so much, Michael, again for this wonderful question. I hope I was able to give you at least some idea about it, and rest you can prepare yourself. And yes, guys, so do subscribe to the channel. Have fun with all these 526 27 videos which I have recorded with a lot of energy, a lot of passion, and my ambition is to make you awesome in all these subjects, right? Thank you so much. I'll see you in my next video.